Psychic vampires. How to be one and harm none. Have you been diagnosed as manic? Have people told you you're draining them or they get exhausted around you? Have you noticed that you get very amped up or feel great intensity or anxiety in crowds? Do people find you intimidating just being in their presence? Do you go through hibernation and seem to sleep for days, have no energy, or feel depleted and hard to pull out of that depressive space? If this sounds like the cycles and experience of your life, there is hope. Chapter 5. My personal journey into energy manipulation. At the age of 6, I was baptized in a Southern Baptist church. I would gather with the youth group, in choir, or on outings, staying spiritually active in the church in my years before the age of 16. I understood I had feelings of being more empathic and what I now relate to as tuned in, tapped in, and turned on to the many vibrations of energy around me. Though at that time, it only led to more questions and conflict than clarity from the contrast. The clarity I did receive was that I was around a limited ideal and belief system that didn't allow me to receive the answers from questioning those around me. That was around the time, about age 13, that I started to study more of the occult practices and devoured knowledge of many other types of practices, including other religions outside of a Christian-based faith. I studied pagan practices, especially focused on the Druid priests and priestesses. I studied a lot of books on crystals because I could feel their energies and I wanted to understand how to use them. I practiced with a lot of candle manifestation and representational magic over the first 15 years. I learned how to read tarot cards, use a pendulum. I had used and gotten rid of a spirit board by age 15, which actually led to my first published book. I'm sure it's become obvious that if I heard about it, I learned about it. I at least researched the idealisms enough to have the understanding of the practices of others, but also to enhance my own abilities and connections with those non-physical energies around us. In my early 30s, I started to fine-tune my energy work with the elements in general, not under any specific practices, but more a collective of most of the studies I'd done in using earth, air, fire, water, and ether energies. I was also introduced to remote viewing in my early 30s, which has been, and still is, a very interesting journey. Being dyslexic actually seems to accentuate that ability based on my studies over the last 20 years. I was able to watch and participate with a very close friend family that was extremely gifted and advanced in her remote viewing techniques. That gave me a lot to practice with on both sides, assisting the viewer and being the viewer. While I have developed my abilities in that process a bit differently, and I do not consider myself to be nearly as advanced in that ability, I did learn a great deal and still have people call me asking where to find lost items or validate their own feelings of where an item or situation may be. Overall, it has been an extremely useful skill in the tracing of energy attachments and flows that I service for myself and others. I've been certified and trained in many practices. However, I like to adjust those ideas to my own energy flow and understandings, which led me to use style in my services to give the correct expectations. The ultimate lesson I've gotten from all the information gathered is this: it's all energy. All we must understand and feel is that flow of the energy. This brings us back to being energy beings that are constantly sharing, swapping, and emitting energy every moment we are breathing and beyond in other ways. These energies are constants, no belief or other understanding required. They are what they are and will be what they are, regardless of anyone's perception of those energies. How we perceive those energies is where things can take a turn, literally directing them with our perceptions, ideas, and especially with our emotions. Those components are exactly what energy manifestation is all about. This understanding is where I found hope for those of us that require more energy and regulation of our energetic flows. Realizing that feeding on chaos of any kind is that candy bar for a diabetic had a profound effect on the energies I connected with to get the dose of energy required. However, regulating it can still occasionally be a challenge until the chaos is settled within. I also accepted it was not my job to clean up and absorb all the nasty, chaotic energy just because it's bountiful. That epiphany has made connecting with other celestial or cosmic energies so much easier. It gives a steady source instead of the roller coaster energy ride of the practically manic effect chaos energies can appear to have. The very high extreme energy, amped up feeling, and then the crash, feeling the drain or depression like sleep, even if you may not be emotionally traumatized. In truth, I've made this sound a lot more difficult than it actually is. If you can already direct the flow of energies, activate chakras, or use sacred geometry in any of your practices, then it is as simple as focusing on that celestial source. Any of those vibrations of unconditional love will be much more appetizing, fulfilling, and enriching for the manifestations as an intentional creator. Hi, this is Samantha Phoenix. Thank you for listening to Chapter 5 of Psychic Vampires, How to Be One and Harm None. First of all, I would like to mention that my very close personal friend that is a remote viewer still is a very talented remote viewer. I referred to her in the past tense only because I was speaking of almost 20 years ago. So otherwise, she is still quite talented at her remote viewing, and I'm still continuing to learn from her as well. So this chapter is really where we get to the heart of the unity in being an intentional energy creator. Being unified in our idealisms and belief systems are not required, but understanding that we are all part of one great consciousness, that we all come from one source of one energy, and in the prisms of that energy, we have our own consciousness so that we enhance and expand the experience of that original energy even more. So while as individuals, sometimes in this current physical state, we feel separated or may feel separated, the truth is we are all connected. We are all one. We all come from one energy source, as all energy is simply that, energy. So if it's energy, it's all from one source. Different things affect, direct, and polarize and manipulate that energy. We, as a consciousness, are able to do that and manifest like magic. That's where the law of attraction comes into play, and understanding how what we have in our vibration, what we hold in our vibration, is what we're going to get back in return from the things that we're manifesting. If we want to manifest money, we have to be in harmony with having the money. We have to feel like we're already millionaires, billionaires. Don't have to worry about money because it's abundant. If you don't feel that way about money, you're probably still struggling with some money issues or just don't have as much as you want to spend. I have had this same issue, especially with money. That does seem to be, in many ways, the hardest one to get past in this current economic system. But the truth is, if you stop worrying about the money, it flows that much greater. I myself, as I said, have been having some struggles in this area, but as I release those fears, my experience is that income comes in so many different ways that I could have never expected, that the more I expect the unexpected for money as well, just like I do in everything else, the more abundantly that money just appears in some way unexpected. So that is literally the law of attraction at work. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just so much easier with things that are small, like butterflies or dragonflies or rain showers. It doesn't really matter what your thing is. Whatever it is that you're focused on, you're going to be manifesting. So focus on what you want. It's about focusing on the feeling of having it instead of the feeling of wanting it. No, it is. So whether it's your God, your source, yourself, believe in something greater and use that energy, use that cosmic divine energy to be your nourishment. Our next 4 episodes will be Chapter 6, How to Get Started, Practice, Practice, Practice. We will be doing 1 episode per practice, and then we'll follow up with the epilogue and the final credits for the final episode. So only 5 more episodes to go. Thanks for listening to Psychic Vampires, How to Be One and Harm None.